Hello, I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Taskmaster New Zealand, which is a remake of the British show Taskmaster. And if you don't know, I am a massive fan of the UK Taskmaster. It's genuinely one of my favourite shows. So yeah, it's gone through a lot of remakes. I think there's been an American one, a German one which didn't even make it to broadcast, I think a Danish one, and of course New Zealand. And the New Zealand one is currently airing at the moment, and I heard a lot of good things about it, so I decided I'd give it a go. So my overall opinion is that I really like it. I was really pleasantly surprised by it. It's very good. It follows pretty much the same format of the British one. It's got its own originality to it while also staying true to the British one. It's interesting, it's funny, it's entertaining, the contestants are good, the Taskmaster's good, the assistant is good. Everything about it is reminiscent of the British one. Really good. Thumbs up from me. I really enjoy it, and if you can find a way to watch it, I do recommend you do. And if you are from New Zealand, definitely watch it. I went onto their kind of like on-demand player, and the UK Taskmaster is actually on there, and I think it was on there before. They have a lot of British shows, so I think their humour is kind of similar to ours, which is good. It works well with the show. And also, I imagine lots of the people in New Zealand are already fans of the British Taskmaster, whereas if we look at the American version, they took the adaptation there before and then started airing the British one, which I think is just the wrong way of doing it. I think you should introduce them to it and be like, this is our American spin on it. And, you know, if their humour fits the American one better, then they'll enjoy that one. You know, if that makes sense. So the Taskmaster is Jeremy Wells, and for first impressions, he's kind of like the strict headmaster type. For me, that's kind of like his appearance. I think he suits the Taskmaster role quite well. He is, you know, harsh in some ways, but mostly he's quite fair with his rulings. He's funny, he makes jokes at their expense while also not being like too mean. So I think that's really good. Yeah, so there are some moments where his judging does feel like a bit weird. There was one task where they had to, don't worry, there won't be too many spoilers in this, just kind of like descriptions of tasks. Yeah, though I won't say who wins anything or anything. So yeah, there was one task where they had to paint a picture of, this was a live studio task, paint a picture of New Zealand, so a map of New Zealand with yeast spread, which is obviously Vegemite. And, you know, when they kind of saw them initially, they kind of really were saying, oh, that's really bad, that's really bad. And then when they wanted to one, it's like, oh, actually, that's quite good. And then they gave the one that they said was quite good less points than the one that they said was bad, which I didn't really understand at all. And, like, some of the contestants were a bit like, but wait, what? There aren't really very many moments of that, so it's not like a recurring thing. It's just a few odd moments where it's like, why have you got points, more points than that person? Yeah, but generally really good. I agree with most of his rulings, which is good. I like it when that happens. Sometimes if a contestant is doing really well, they do tend to like lower down their points a bit, which makes sense because there were a few moments where somebody was like way ahead of the others. But then they've kind of like done the reverse where like the person who was at the bottom, they've kind of been given more points too, and then they've kind of gone up more. But again, I don't generally disagree with it, so yeah. He does have some interesting ways of giving points. So for someone he gave, for one of the tasks they did, -1 points. So not 0 points. He didn't take a mark off, he literally said you've got -1 point, so his general score went down by 1 point, which I don't think Greg has ever done, from what I can remember. Like, he's deducted points from someone from like there, like, oh, I would give you 3, but I'm gonna take 1 off, so you've got 2. He literally said you've got -1 points, which I thought was quite good. And he did give someone a half point, which I don't think has been done on the British one, which kind of adds a little bit of difference. They do kind of, there's some kind of like banter about him not living up to Greg's standards. So for one of them, it was bring something in that the Taskmaster wouldn't want to see, and it was like tweets and quotes from people saying that he wasn't going to be as good as Greg and all that kind of stuff. And then there was a video of Greg telling him that you needed to treat the contestants like they're like worthless, they're only comedians, that kind of stuff. But I do like the fact that he's not trying to like imitate Greg. So he's taking on the role of the Taskmaster, but he's not trying to be exactly like Greg. He's being himself, but as the Taskmaster, which I do like. I think it'd be worse if he tried to copy Greg exactly, because they are different people. They're going to have different like styles of humour. They're going to have different opinions. So it makes sense for him to take it in a different direction slightly. And I do like that. I think he's done a really good job. I have had some people complain about him a little bit, just because, again, I think they're just putting too much kind of like pressure on him to be exactly like Greg, when nobody is going to be like Greg Davies. He is an individual. He is perfect for the role, but I think just comparing people like incessantly to him is just going to make every version they do like not good. So the Taskmaster assistant is Paul Williams. And at first I thought his humour was a bit too forced, and he was trying too much to be a copy of Alex, which is what I literally just said. I didn't want Jeremy Wells to do that for Greg. But he definitely improved as he went along. He kind of, when he was doing the tasks with people, he definitely had that very, I don't know how to describe Alex, but it was very good. It seemed more natural. It seemed like he wasn't really putting on an act. So yeah, I think he definitely improved. When I was watching the first episode, it was kind of like, oh, that sounds like way too forced. But it definitely went along, and there were some moments which I thought was absolutely hilarious from him. I think it's just the parts in the studio where he's kind of like reading off the auto cue, which I feel like some of those moments seem a bit forced. But generally, I really like him. I think he's a good like adaptation of Alex. Yeah, and interestingly, which I'll get onto in a minute as well, a bit more in depth, is one of the contestants is his brother, which adds a very interesting and funny dynamic. He kind of like stands up to him in a way in some like moments, and he kind of obviously he's the like makes the tasks, I think, and he gave him a task to do by himself, and it was like a mathsy one, and I don't think he's very good at maths. So it's kind of like he's taking this chance to kind of like embarrass his brother, which I thought was quite funny. He also has a really good relationship with all of the contestants. So, when they're like meeting and to do the tasks, there's not really like any bad blood between anybody, which I like. Because like some of the contestants, and I know like the American one, I haven't watched the American version, but I've heard like one of the contestants like just keep saying that she hates Alex, and I didn't want any of that, and nobody has done that. Everyone is just quite like happy and bubbly, but also having very different personalities. And he has a really, really funny relationship with Angela, and it's just, yeah, it's really, really sweet. Like both of them, yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, but it is very good. And generally he is quite like that sweet, awkward, kind of emotionless character, and I think he does do it very well. So on to the contestants. So in alphabetical order, there's Angela. She is very funny. So just to say, I haven't heard of any of these comedians before. The only comedian from New Zealand that I've heard of is Rose Matafeo. So it was interesting. I was kind of like, oh, I'm probably not going to find any of them funny. I like the British one because I normally know at least a couple of the comedians. I didn't know any of these, and it didn't impact how much I enjoyed the show because they're all like good, they're all funny. So yeah, Angela. She's not the best at tasks to begin with. However, she's very funny in the studio. She makes a lot of really funny remarks, and she's like kind of awkward with some like, she kind of catches you off guard because she seems like such a sweet, innocent character, and then she just throws in like a dirty joke and is absolutely hilarious. I think she's had some of the most hilarious moments from the show, and like sometimes she just seems like so clueless, but then sometimes she comes up with such genius ways of doing tasks. So she's a very interesting character to watch because you just have no idea what she's going to do, and she's a very, very good singer. One of the tasks was a singing task, and she did an amazing job. So next is Brynley, and I really like Brynley. I think she is a brilliant contestant. She's wearing a scout uniform. I like it when contestants wear like a funny outfit. She's wearing a scout uniform, which has been likened many times to being a Hitler Youth uniform, which is hilarious. So So a lot of her tasks is kind of like very dramatic. She puts a nice, really funny spin on it, and I really like her. I feel like she's very competitive, but she's kind of like low-key about it, unlike some of the other contestants. So one of the other contestants that is very competitive is Guy, and he is Paul Williams, the assistant. That's his brother, and he is very competitive. He reminds me a lot of Ian Sterling. He calls himself the people's champion, and he like forces the audience to cheer. He always stands up, and that kind of aspect about him is a bit annoying for me, just because I don't like that kind of like humour, or like I just don't like that. But when he's actually in the tasks, he's very good. I do enjoy him when he's doing the tasks. It's just, I don't know, it's just not my style of humour. Some people might really like it and find it really funny, but just for me, I'm not a fan. Apart from that, I think his approach to tasks is quite good, and I do feel like he is sometimes unfairly marked. Yeah, sometimes he's justifiably given not many good marks, but he does go all out for some of the tasks, which I like. And apart from that, I think he is a really good contestant. I do find him entertaining, especially when he's doing the tasks. Then there's Lee, who on the first episode I didn't think I would like him that much, but I really, really do like him, and he's really good friends with Jeremy Wells. He doesn't really use it to like make fun of him. I think Angela kind of makes fun of Jeremy more than Lee does, which I thought was quite funny. I would have suspected it would be the other way around, like we kind of have with like Rod and Roisin. So I think he's got something to do with music. A lot of the tasks he does utilise music in some ways. I really like him. He's good at tasks, but he's misinterpreted the tasks or misread the tasks so many times. So one of the tasks was like, colour in this whiteboard, fastest time wins, and he thought it said covered, which I don't know why, and there's been multiple occasions where he's like misinterpreted the tasks, which I think is absolutely hilarious. It makes it like even more funny because he's so determined to think he's done so well, and then like, no, you weren't supposed to do that. But yeah, and at the start of the episode, some of the ones, he's always asking Paul if he wants like a cup of coffee, or oh, I'm going out, would you like a cup of coffee? Or he just does something really nice. I just think he's such a nice character, which is not kind of what I thought would be kind of like manly, like, oh, get on with it, like, you know, but he's so friendly and so lovely. I really like him. And then finally there's Madeline. It's just, I don't really know what else to say about her, apart from she's just really good at the tasks, and she does them all in like entertaining ways. Actually, she's not good at all the tasks, but sometimes she kind of just goes in with like, oh, this is what you'd expect to do. Like again, the colouring the whiteboard, she just colours it in with a whiteboard marker, which takes ages. So yeah, she's kind of got a weird mix of just doing the obvious but also wrong thing to do, while also, yeah, no, I do like her. She wears like a tux, which probably wouldn't have been my choice of outfit to be running around and doing tasks. But no, I really like her. I think she's really good. She's very inventive in the way that she comes up with tasks, and she's very entertaining and funny. Okay, on to the tasks, which I think is one of like the most important aspects of Taskmaster. So you've got to have interesting, funny, challenging tasks. And the tasks in this are all quite original, which I really like. Original in the way that there's no like direct copies of the British tasks. There are some similar ones. So one of the tasks recently in the last episode in episode 9, sorry, was cook a sausage using the letters that make up the word sausage, which is very similar to the one in season 1, which was make a meal for the Taskmaster using the letters of the alphabet, which I think is one of the best tasks that the British will have done. I really enjoyed it, and like, yeah, there are quite a few similar ones. I literally just had one in my head and it's gone completely. Oh yeah, they have like ones where it's like, do this, but if you use the same thing as somebody else, then you get disqualified. And I don't think actually anybody did get disqualified in some of them. There aren't many disqualifications, which I like, because in season 10 it just seems like so many people are getting disqualified for like little things. And with this, they do give people a little bit of a leeway, but they aren't like too harsh, but they aren't like, oh, you can do whatever you want, like there are rules. Which I do like. I think it makes it a bit funny and be like, oh well, you have done really well, so I'm gonna give you your points even though you did kind of cheat here, which I like. I think Greg has gone really harsh this season. I'm not really sure why. I might do a review of kind of like season 10 and because generally I do enjoy it, but there are some things that I don't think have worked so well. For example, they have got so many like really complicated tasks, and tasks that like have really strict rules that result in disqualification. Whereas in the New Zealand one, they have lots of simple tasks, like I said before, colouring the whiteboard as quick as possible, which is very like season 1 tasks, which I really like. You know, put the most surprising thing in this pinata. And I think they all the tasks are interesting for the most part. I think there are only a few that I haven't really enjoyed. But yeah, they're simple, but they're effective. There are some complicated tasks as well, and some kind of like trick tasks, which are just hilarious. I'm not going to get too much into the one which is like really funny, because it would kind of be spoiling it. But yeah, I'm not going to get too much into that one. There are some complicated tasks, and like I said, where they do the thing where they just get one person to do a task, which yeah, is always funny. I always love it when they do that. There are a lot of, instead of doing like really complicated tasks, there are a lot of like the two-parter tasks. I'm trying to think of an example from the British one. I can't think of any off the top of my head now. But so for example, two two-parter tasks, which I think were really effective, was one which was like dramatically smash this vase, most dramatic smashing wins, or something along those lines. And so like they just take a sledgehammer to the vase and stuff, and a few of them just walk out after doing that, like, right, I've done it. And there's actually a hidden task inside the vase, and it was to put the vase back together, which I thought was like genius, and I'm surprised I didn't see that coming. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And also one was, it was a group task actually, and they had to stand in like, they were split up, and so they had to, so the first part of the task was collect tools. You have like 100 seconds, your time starts now, so they had to go out and get anything what they think would work, obviously not knowing what the task would be. And then the task was to move soup from one bowl to another bowl, and they had to use the task, they couldn't leave like their things, and they also had to pass it along, so it was kind of like split up, they couldn't move out of their sections. And that was such a genius task as well. And I do think this show has had one of the best like tasks ever. So I'll tell you what the task is, and I won't tell you kind of like spoilers about it, but it's one of those ones where they kind of, you know, like with the prize task, when they have to get a gift for the Taskmaster, so they have like ages to do it. I think they had 5 months, and it was to wear the most outrageous outfit underneath your clothing, and then that would be revealed in the studio. So, and like genuinely, like you didn't know that they're wearing things underneath their outfits, like they just looked normal, apart from one, which yeah. And then just the reveal of the costumes is absolutely hilarious. Like, oh, it was absolutely genius. Whoever came up with that task, like, Jesus Christ, you need a raise. Like, that is absolutely hilarious. Yeah, so I have really enjoyed all the tasks. Yeah, there's not really much I would change about the tasks. Just kind of keep it as it is. They're funny, they're entertaining, but like humiliating in some ways as well. And they do kind of have that, you know, with like Alex, where sometimes they like humiliate Alex or like almost injure him. They kind of have that as well. So like they've kind of kept that, because even though I don't want Alex or Paul to get hurt, it is kind of funny where like they make them eat weird things, or drink. Oh god, yeah, there was a cocktail task, which again, similar to one, yeah, make the fanciest cocktail using ingredients that rhyme, which I thought was really good as well. And some like the disgusting ones in that as well, which of course Paul had to drink. Yeah. So on to kind of like the style and the format of the show. They've got all very similar like comedy styles to what we have in the UK, which I like. It's obviously not identical, but it is very similar, so I can imagine a lot of UK viewers would find it funny. It's also got the same style and look, you know, kind of like with the house, how that looks. Like it is different, it's not exactly the same to the British one, obviously, because it's in New Zealand, but it's the inside, the decor is pretty much the same. It's like that weird quirky kind of mismatched misplaced items, and weird items like rubber ducks that on shelves for whatever reason. It's also got the stage is the same, it's got the same like red and gold look with the portrait of the Taskmaster at the back, and the Taskmaster's, the trophy is the head. Also, like before tasks, if you remember, they've kind of got like a little teaser jingly thing before, so they'll show things that might have something to do with tasks, and they've kept that as well. And also in between parts, so moving from like part 1 to part 2, they have like, you know, balloons popping or you know, that kind of thing, blowing out a candle, that kind of thing, where it like imitates like 1 or 2, but like, you know, that kind of thing. One thing that I thought that was a little bit odd is that they have 5 parts to it, so there'll be 4 ad breaks. I obviously don't know how New Zealand television works, so this might be normal for them. For me, it was a bit weird because, well, why is there 5 parts to it? It doesn't really break up the show too much, but it's literally like, so it follows the same format, so prize task, like 3, 4 pre-filmed tasks, and then a studio task. But then there's a break, an ad break, in between the last pre-recorded task and the studio task, which I think is a little bit odd, because it is the same length of the British one. It's 45 minutes long, and I imagine it would take place over an hour slot, including ads. So maybe we just have longer ad breaks, which would make sense. It doesn't impact me too much because I'm watching it without ads, because my VPN doesn't work on the Taskmaster, on the New Zealand like on-demand channel, which is fine, I guess. But yeah, that's the only thing that I think might be a bit odd, but that might just be, I don't know if that's normal in New Zealand. If it is, then let me know. So overall, I think New Zealand have done an absolutely amazing job, because I always hate adaptations or remakes of British comedies to well, American ones. Americans are the biggest offenders, aren't they? But New Zealand have done a brilliant job. One thing I was first mentioned with the tasks is that I've heard, I'm not sure how valid this claim is, but apparently in the contract they had to come up with original tasks. They weren't allowed to use British ones in the British one, which I think is a really good idea. Yeah, I don't know how valid that claim, but it makes sense because there haven't been any repeats. I think the only one that is kind of a repeat is Make the Biggest Thing Disappear, which has appeared on obviously in season 10 and in this one, but I think they were filmed at around the same time, so it might have just been like a coincidence. So yeah, and they do actually have very different approaches to that, which is quite weird. But yeah, so generally it's really good. I would definitely say if you can find a way to watch it, then definitely do. If you're in New Zealand, definitely watch it, because I think you would really enjoy it, especially if you like the British Taskmaster. So yeah, there's not really much to say. I don't really have any negatives about it. Obviously some people might not like the style or the comedians, but I think they're really good. So yeah, I'm probably going to try and find places for me to watch the American one and the Danish one. I think it's Danish. And maybe do this kind of same style of video, because I have heard things about, obviously I know things about the American ones, but I haven't actually seen a full episode. I've just seen some clips on YouTube. So I definitely want to react to that and kind of say, well, obviously where they went wrong, rather than opposite to this one, how these ones went right. But yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed this. If you have any other video kind of recommendations, because this was recommended, someone did like request me to do this, or say, oh, you should react to this. So I hope you enjoyed, whoever suggested this. And if anybody has any other kind of like videos they want me to do, I'm not saying I will do it, because some videos I'm not a massive fan of like watching, and these videos are kind of things that I would like to watch. So if you do have any recommendations, let me know down below. Also comment if you have seen the New Zealand Taskmaster, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. And if you have liked this video, please give it a like, it's really appreciated. And if you want to see more videos like this, then please subscribe, and I'll have more videos out for you soon. So yeah, thank you, bye.